It's such a delight to be back teaching for IJS. It's been, I believe, since January that I've been able to be here. So glad to be back. I'd like to begin by offering a short chant by Ali Halpert. You're welcome to listen or sing along as you feel comfortable. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. I'm going to continue with a short teaching and then guide us into a sit. And as I'm speaking, I would love to invite you to close your eyes or rest your eyes. You don't have to grasp onto the words. You can let these words flow through you, flow over you. And I invite you every now and then as I'm speaking to shift your attention, even momentarily, to your body, to your breath. Just remember that you have a body and that your breath is here. In this week's Parsha, Pinchas, Moses asks Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh to pick a leader to succeed him. Without hesitation, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh chooses Joshua. Joshua is described as Ish Asher Ruach Bo. This is sometimes translated to mean an inspired person, but it literally means a person with breath in him. To this, we might wonder, don't we all have breath in us? Don't we all breathe? What makes Joshua's breath so special? And I don't actually believe that Joshua's breath is special, but that he has a connection to his breath that he hasn't lost. Joshua and Caleb are the only scouts who, upon returning from surveying the land of Canaan, are willing to continue on the journey. Everyone else becomes caught up in fear. We know that when we experience fear, it's not just mental, it's a physical reaction that our body has, and our breath is often tied up in that. We can lose our breath, and then our whole physical and mental system can be further affected by our dysregulated breathing. And whether it's something that's actually life-threatening or not, something major or something more mundane, fear has a way of taking over and causing us to lose our breath or lose our awareness of our breath. But Joshua has breath in him. He doesn't lose his breath. This doesn't mean that Joshua isn't feeling afraid. The journey ahead of them is full of unknowns and potential threats. So he may well be feeling fear, but in the midst of fear, he stays connected with his breath. Just a few Pesukim earlier in the Parsha, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is described as Elohei Haruach L'chol Basar, the breath of all flesh. To me, this is not just coincidental that shortly after, Joshua is described as being a person with breath in him. There's a parallel being drawn here between God and breath that we can't ignore. Joshua's ability to maintain his connection to breath in this moment is a way of saying he maintains connection with presence, with awareness, with divine unfolding of being in the midst of fear and unknown. Perhaps this is what makes him a good candidate to be a leader. Think about if our leaders today, in workplaces, in schools, in government, had better tools for working with fear and uncertainty, had the ability to stay connected with their breath or return to their breath, to stay connected with compassion and an awareness of the truth of interdependence. These aren't just the qualities that leaders need to possess. We all need to be better able to breathe in the midst of fear and not knowing, so that we can be grounded and ready to make clear, compassionate choices for ourselves and others. In the Jewish calendar, today begins the period of the 3 weeks, the time preceding the month of Av, in which we commemorate the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. This begins a time of mourning for the losses, the walls that have crumbled in our lives and in our hearts. The Talmud says, when Av enters, we decrease in joy. And yet when the calendar rolls around into the month of Adar, we increase in joy. We know that in our lives, we experience the changing seasons, the cycles of grief, joy, and everything in between. And a constant throughout all the ups and downs, the joys and sorrows, the fears, is our breath. We can come home to our breath for shelter, for refuge, for groundedness. And we can let the breath help us to ride the waves of life with kindness, grace, and connection. So we'll move into a sit together. We're going to spend some time practicing connecting with our breath, coming home to our breath. And if for you the breath is not a workable anchor for whatever reason, I'll invite you to choose another anchor that will serve a similar purpose to help ground you in the moment, in your own presence, in the body. So please find a comfortable position that will work for you for about 15 minutes of meditation. And you're welcome to sit or lie down or stand up. So please listen to whatever your body needs and respond with kindness. You're welcome to close your eyes, or you can keep them open if you prefer. Settling in to the seat, to the space that you're in right now. Becoming aware of the sensations of contact with the floor, with your seat, the touch of your hands in your lap or wherever your hands are resting. And as you are settling in, inviting any extra effort or tension you may be holding to let go as much as possible without forcing anything. Softening your face, Allowing your shoulders to drop, softening your belly, fingers, toes. Resting in your gentle, awake presence. Becoming aware of any sensations that help you to feel grounded and stable, that let you know you're here in this moment. Perhaps the solidity of the ground beneath your feet, feeling that contact. Or your bottom in the chair or cushion. Or the weight of your legs anchoring you like roots. Grounding sensations of contact are always available to us. And we can always turn to a sensation of contact to help us land in the present, to connect with the present. And so, if you'd like, you can stay with one of these grounding sensations. Or if you wish, you can shift your attention to the breath. Following the gentle movement of the breath at its own pace. Not needing to change the breath or breathe in any special way. Allowing the body to receive breath and to let go of breath. And even when we get caught up in thinking and get distracted, our body is still here, still breathing. So, in the midst of whatever may be arising in our minds, in our hearts, we can notice that without judgment and return to the breath or to the groundedness of the body. We'll continue to practice silently for a little while. If you find you've gotten lost, distracted, caught up in stories, or planning, or memories, it's okay. See if you can take a moment to pause, to become aware of whatever is arising right now without judgment. And without pushing away whatever your experience is in this moment. See if you can connect with the breath or with a sense of the body grounded here in the midst of whatever may be going on. We'll practice silently for a couple more minutes. Returning home to your presence, to sitting here just as you are, with appreciation for this time that you set aside to meditate, to support each other in community, to cultivate awareness. Acknowledging any other intentions that brought you here today. Closing this meditation with a poem, Breathe by Lynn Ungar. Breathe, said the wind. How can I breathe at a time like this, when the air is full of smoke, of burning tires, burning lives? Just breathe, the wind insisted. Easy for you to say, if the weight of injustice is not wrapped around your throat, cutting off all air. I need you to breathe. I need you to breathe. Don't tell me to be calm when there are so many reasons to be angry, so much cause for despair. I didn't say to be calm, said the wind. I said to breathe. We're going to need a lot of air to make this hurricane together. So taking your time as you're ready to let your eyes gently open if they've been closed, raising your gaze. Feel free to give your body any stretches or movement that it needs. I'll turn it back over to our host.
Thank you so much, Emily. What a beautiful and grounding and stirring practice. And I believe you're going to make the poem available to share with folks. Thank you very much. At this time, friends, let's turn to Mourner's Kaddish, Kaddish Yatom. If you're in the period of mourning, or if you're marking a yahrzeit, the anniversary of a death, or if it's your practice to say Kaddish at this time, please put names of loved ones in the chat so we can hold them in loving support and hold you as well. And if you're reciting Kaddish, you're invited to rise in body or in spirit, to unmute, and for the community to respond. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divra chirutei, be'yamlich malchutei, b'chayei yitzon, chayei b'chol beit Yisrael, ba'ala v'zman karib, amen. Yehi Shmo Rabba Levarach Shalach Yitbarach Yitbarach
Yekada v'halev halal shmei
Yitzchak
kasha baricha
Yisrael
ve'ela
Yisrael
mikol birachata
Yisrael
v'shirata v'shvat
Yisrael
v'nechmata v'amira me'ola v'emra amen Yehi shalom abraham chaim elena v'yalkol Yisrael v'emro amen
Amen.
Masay v'emro amen Leah
Shlama Rabba
v'emro
Shemaya
elena v'yalkol Yisrael
Alinu
v'yalkol Yisrael v'emro amen
Amen.
Amen.
Se Shalom B'Olam.
Amen.
Asif Shalom. Aleinu V'Kol V'Kol Yoshvei Tzedakah. Yivu. Amen.
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 Their memories truly be a blessing to you all, and may all who are in mourning be held in comfort. Amen. Amen. If you need to leave at this time, thank you so much for being with us. May be carried along in good health and in blessing. And if you're able to stay and would like to ask a question of Emily, please put in bold question in the chat. And I'll keep my eyes on the chat for some questions. And I want to say again, thank you to Jet Buckman for supporting our tech today. And Emily, thank you so much for such a moving teaching. Maybe I'll begin with a question. I found it so compelling what you were teaching about Emily, about Joshua. Yeah, we are all the figures in the Torah, about Joshua being chosen for leadership because he was connected to Ruach. And I heard in your teaching, and I was exploring in my own body and experience, the different textures of being connected to breath, the constant change of it, the vitality of it, as you were so beautifully putting, the receiving of it and allowing. It's not self-generated. It's really ways that we need to let go to receive breath, and many other qualities. And I'm curious, you're in rabbinical school. You've been in leadership roles of all kinds. I wonder if you could talk about how your meditation practice, and particularly your own exploration of breath, has been important in your leadership.
Oof.
It's a big one.
I mean, the answer is how has it not really been, so important? I can think of so many experiences of, being in a moment of challenge or difficulty, or even, just anxiety or nervousness, and knowing that I have the resource of taking a pause to connect with my breath, that I don't have to just jump into a solution or the next thing to say, or how to, fix something or give an answer right away, has been just so important in my personal life and my school life and in the teaching that I do. Yeah, it's everything. And when it's not there, it's really, it makes a difference. It makes a difference when I'm able to remember it. And that's the hardest thing, is just to remember that we can take that pause and connect with the breath.
So important. It really stirs the imagination to think of, to dream into a world in which our leaders really practice that. And each of us in our own leadership, we all take roles of leadership in our lives. What if we really committed to that way of never giving up ourselves, in that sense of really being connected, and being able to pause? Thank you for that.
Yeah, and if I can just respond to that, I myself, and I know a lot of people feel, frustrated and worried about the state of the world, and what we can do to be of service in our corners of the universe and our communities where we find ourselves. And I feel that one of the things that we can really do, even if we aren't sure about specific actions to take, is to try to embody what we can embody in our relationships with other people, whether it's our families or our friends or our workplaces, to be able to be that walking embodiment as best we can. And maybe another person sees us and sees us take that breath, sees us take that pause, and the effect that has on them. Maybe it helps them to take a breath or take a pause. And we don't know what the next moment would bring, but it makes a difference on what happens next.
Beautiful. And that poem brought that idea home so powerfully. I think a lot of people who aren't meditators, maybe we'll say, often look at those of us who sit silently and turn attention to our breath and say, it's navel gazing, there's a world burning out there, how can you waste time sitting with your breath when there's work to do? And I think you so potently weave that together, both in terms of what we embody and being able to have open-hearted, clear attention for what actually is happening, and then the ability to respond. And I'm curious, I loved the way that you connected Joshua as someone who possesses Ruach with God as Elohei HaRuach L'chol Basar. So the essence and the source of life breath, of spirit, for every living thing, which right away turned my attention from the very personal to the collective, that my breath isn't just my breath, that this is all of life breath. I'm wondering if there's more that you want to say about the practice of going from the private and personal embodied experience to the sense of divinity, connection to other beings?
Yes, well, I think in the last 3 years, we've become incredibly aware of how breath and how we're all connected by breath in the pandemic, and how my breath and how another person's breath affects each other. And even, more recently that, I was thinking of that poem. I live in New York City, and in the last few weeks, we've really been experiencing a lot going on in the air quality more than ever before because of the wildfires, all the way up in Canada. And I know other parts of the country have experienced this, more of a degree than those of us on the East Coast. But it is a newer experience for those of us on the East Coast to, recognize that this air that we're breathing is not just the air over New York City, it's the air over Canada and the whole planet. And we can, very easily be in this trance of our own little bubble, our own little world. And then something happens and it affects us and wakes us up. And so I think that that's, been a real awakening for a lot of us in the last few years. And my hope and my prayer is that this increased awareness of our interdependence remains at the forefront for all of us as we continue in our practice.
Thank you so much. There's a question from Lori, which I just lost. Hold on one second there. Lori says, when I was doing volunteer hospice, we often did breath matching to bring comfort and companionship to the ailing person. Is there any notion of matching breath with others as a unifying power in Torah or Midrash or mindfulness practice?
Oh, well, I don't know the text answer. Maybe you do, Miriam. I don't know specifically about breath matching, and it's also a term I'm not as familiar with, but I am, and I would love it if you could correct me if I'm wrong. But my assumption is that this means that we're breathing along at the rate of the person who we are sitting with. I think that is such a beautiful practice. And I think whether it's the breath or our presence more generally, to be able to give that warm, open, spacious presence to another person is one of the greatest gifts that we can give. I've spent several years working in healthcare in hospital settings as a mindfulness meditation teacher. And for some people, breathing, can be the most healing experience, to be guided in breath, to, shift the attention from whatever anxieties or fears may be spinning through the mind, to have a refuge in the breath. And for others, it's really less important that it's the breath specifically. More important that it's a loving and caring awareness to hold whatever is. But I would be curious if you know any text resources for matching breath. I really want to look into this now.
Yeah, it's a very interesting and beautiful question. Andrew wrote in mentioning the moment when the prophet, I believe it is Elijah, who breathes, brings life back to a child who has died. My mind certainly goes to the moment when God breathes breath into the Adam, the first earth being, to turn this sort of lump of clay into an animated being. The other thing that comes to mind for me as somebody who sings a lot is that anytime the Torah mentions singing, of course, when we sing, we breathe together. And singing always happens on the exhalation, unless you're one of those people skilled in circular breathing. And I don't know how that works exactly. But so those moments when we just had in the Torah, the Israelites singing to the well after Miriam died and Moses brought water again, that they sing a song to the well, or about the well, maybe a bit of both. So anytime they reference that, it's not exactly what was asked in the question about a kind of matching breath as where one person is ailing and another person is strong, but actually that this is a moment when there's mutual support and vibration and vitality through singing, breathing together. Beautiful. We have just another couple minutes left, and I'm just looking to see if there are any other questions. I don't see others at the moment. Let me see if I had another question. Well, you mentioned the 3 weeks and this period of time that we're in of grieving. And in my own experience, sometimes when I'm expressing grief in tears, it's difficult to breathe. And you were offering this image of breath being able to make room for the waves of emotion, waves of life. I wonder if there's more that you want to offer about the differences between when breath gets stuck because of emotion and what's available.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, tears and crying, it's such an important emotional release for us, that what I would not want folks to take away from this is that, oh, I have to, you know, I have to stop crying because my breath is, you know, dysregulated. I think that, you know, again, more important than, you know, having a sort of perfect awareness of our breath is that expansive, loving awareness of whatever we're experiencing in the moment, and bringing such spacious compassion to ourselves in the midst of grief, in the midst of not being able to breathe or catch our breath, rather than judging ourselves or fighting ourselves against, you know, what our body might really need in that moment, you know. And that ruach breath is one way of looking at it, of talking about it, but it's also, you know, more of a sense of expansive spirit and presence, and so we can think about it that way as well.
Beautiful. Well, we've reached the end of our time. Again, Emily, thank you so much for guiding us in teaching and in practice. Thank you again, Jet, for your support on all things technological, and a deep gratitude and thank you to each of you for being here, for being in a community of practice together. And I'm wishing you many blessings, good health, and well-being. Thank you, everyone.